Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome to your weekly AAA Hole Podcast. I, of course, am your AAA Hole Death Witch, and I'm doing things a little bit differently this week, so it's not going to be a discussion portion of this podcast, although I will be reading comments from your emails as I'm recording this one offline. A couple of reasons behind that. One, I've been just super busy this week with overtime, and I didn't really have time to research a deep dive community topic, so I've got one I've been sitting on, and then some headlines today just kind of triggered me in a way that I was like, you know what, this is probably going to be more of a rant. Need to record this offline so I can just get it off my chest. I will warn in advance. Go ahead and consider this your trigger warning. This podcast may not be as long as the rest, and your trigger warning is going to be, I'm going to be talking about some things that aren't necessarily related to gaming. Some outside influences that have now affected gaming on topics I personally try to keep my opinion to myself on, because they're hot button topics. But those topics have finally affected the thing I love, so now I gotta say something. But I'll start with the lighter side of that, which is gonna be mostly focused this week on Sony. Now, I'll give credit where credit is due with Sony, and I'll start by saying that they, as a console company, are just fucking crushing it. In more ways than one. I mean, their VR is amazing compared to, for what it is. I mean, it's comparable to the Vive and the Rift at half the cost. So if you're looking to get into VR, I highly recommend that. Their customer service is absolutely fucking stellar. My PS4 died about a week or so ago. A little over a week and a half ago. Almost 2 weeks. And when I say died, I mean, my wife played VR while I was at work I didn't even play it that night. She played it for roughly an hour and a half. Maybe she didn't do a whole lot, but, she's enjoying the VR. It's the most comfortable headset. It's the only one that fits over her glasses. She loves it. I couldn't get her into the Vive. It hurt her face. But this one, you can wear glasses with it, and it's fine. So she loves it, and she was enjoying some of that, and then she turned it off. Like usual, we press your PS4 power button on the controller. You go to sleep mode, and your system settings or the power options, you go to sleep mode like usual. You get the orange light on the front of the PS4 to show you it's in sleep mode, and it does its thing in sleep mode. It downloads your updates. It does all that stuff conveniently for you, so you don't have to wait when you get ready to game the next day. So, woke up the next day, went to play the game, and my PS4 just wouldn't turn on. The light on the front, the yellow bar light that's supposed to be there, wasn't there. There was no light at all. So I checked to make sure it's plugged in. It's plugged in. Press the power button. No response. The thing's basically a brick. No beep, no nothing. Press the eject button. Same result. No beep, no nothing. Now, I have it plugged into the same outlet that the VR is plugged into, because the VR runs on a separate little box that controls the VR. It's got its separate processing unit. So I got the light on the VR. The VR headset turns on, and, I can power on the VR headset. No response from the console itself. I unplug it from that wall socket. I plug it into a different one. Same result. I swap out the power cord with one I know works. I use the one from my monitor. I know that power cord works. It's practically new. It's a new monitor. Same result. I tried different outlet with that one. Same result. Just nothing worked. Tried holding the button down long enough to get into safe mode. Wouldn't go into safe mode. I had to manually eject my disc. I went through some guides online, and you know what? I was like, you know what? I need to check and see if this thing is under warranty before I start ripping it apart and trying to fix it myself. So I check it. I keep the receipt. It was in the box for the PS4, which I keep in my closet. So I went and pulled that out, found the receipt. It was 1 month out of warranty. Not even. It was a little under a month out of warranty. It was like 1 week away from being 1 month out of warranty. So it was out of warranty. I went and posted on the Reddit subforum about it, asking if anybody's had a similar experience and what I can do. Start seeking help, and everyone on there was surprisingly hostile, basically telling me, you're just going to have to buy another one. You're out of warranty, which means you get fuck all, giving me that kind of general hostile attitude, which I see why people avoid gaming communities and why we get a bad stereotype, because it's that toxic, just need to attack anyone who just so much as asks the community for help that you get in general from the gaming community. Now you find your helpful group of people, and I found some who directed me to, after I filter through the horde of comments like, haha, it's out of warranty. Oh man, you're up shit creek. It's going to cost you this much to get it fixed. And then I'm trying to explain to them, well, is Sony willing to work with you? And they're like, no, they're not going to work with you. Fuck you. And that whole attitude in general. Sift through those comments, get to the ones where guys are like, you know what? Here's how you contact them. Just ask them. So I do that. I go to the website. I hit up their chat. I didn't even have to call and actually talk to a person, which was great. I hate calling customer service numbers, and I hate talking to customer service reps. I say this as a guy who does tech support over the phone, so I generally act as both a on-the-phone tech support guy as well as a customer service rep for the company I work for. So I try to avoid, because I know what that job's like, and I don't want to talk to those people because they have things they have to say and things they have to do, and it's generally a long-winded conversation. They're not allowed to get directly to the point. They have to go through their whole spiel, and they have to go through all their stuff to say. Even jobs like mine where I don't have a script to follow, I have to say certain things during the conversation. I have to work them in somehow. I have just the required bullet points I have to hit. It's not a script. I don't have to say a certain thing word for word, but I do have to say these things word for word at some point during the conversation, which just drags the conversation out. And then, of course, they make me do that thing at the end where I recap everything we did as if the person wasn't there for the, duration of the phone call, which just annoys fucking everybody. I don't know why companies continue to do this other than to cover their own ass, which it really doesn't, because you already recorded the conversation anyway. You have their verbal confirmation that they understood something during the conversation. So why you need to get it again at the end just annoys everybody, and I'm ranting about the wrong thing now. All right. Anyway, I'm giving them props for their customer service before I just absolutely butcher them in this podcast. So I use their online chat thing. I get a guy on the online chat. I tell him what the problem was. He asked for the serial number. He only asked me a couple questions. He asked for the serial number for my console. I gave him the serial number for the console. He asked me if I have the receipt. I say yes. And then he asked for my address. And I gave him my address. And he said, cool, we'll mail you a box. It'll have a shipping label on it. Just mail it back to us. We will fix it free of charge. He knew it was out of warranty. They did not give a shit. They fixed it anyway. So I got my PS4 Pro completely fixed, free of charge. So props to Sony for that. All right, now on to the first thing that annoyed me that I've been sitting on before I get to the hot button one. So the first thing is just Sony and crossplay. Can we talk about fucking crossplay with consoles for a minute? And not just consoles, but consoles and PC. So this one specifically refers to consoles and PC. I stay out of the, Sony doesn't want to crossplay with Microsoft or Nintendo thing because I'm mainly a PC gamer, and for the most part, Sony hasn't seemed to mind crossplay with PC. I mean, Fortnite had crossplay with PC since day one, so that was never really an issue for me. In fact, I never even noticed you couldn't crossplay until, my other console friends wanted to play, and I had a guy from PS4 in my party, and they couldn't join. So I didn't notice at first, but now I'm seeing what people are getting mad about. But anyway, there was... apparently word has come out that Sony actively blocked character transfers. This isn't even crossplay we're talking about here. We're talking about character transfers. So if you started playing on their console, you are fucking locked into their console. And if you started playing on PC, then you're locked in on PC. You can't play. So we're talking about Destiny 2. They blocked character transfers between the two. So if you started playing on PC and you wanted to pick your game up on PlayStation, you could not. I've been wanting to do this forever. My wife prefers playing on the PS4. She likes sitting in the living room, laying down on the couch instead of being stuck at her computer. So when we played Destiny 2, she would have loved to do that, but she can't now because they block character transfers from day one. No real reason was given in this article as to why they did this. Other than the direct quote was that they wanted people to associate Destiny 2 as a best experienced on PS4, solely PS4 experience. So they wanted theirs to have a whole separate experience, and they wanted people to be locked into their console. This is dumb, and it annoyed me because this I don't understand their hatred for crossplay. And like exclusive things, fine. They already had their exclusive items for Destiny. There were exclusive exotics that you could only get on the PS4 version. So the PS4 version had all these exclusives that no other version got, regardless of whether or not you could transfer your character. That's the only reason I could see that blocked it, is that I guess they didn't want you to get those on PS4 and then switch over to PC. It's still dumb. They stand to make more money than they lose off that one fucking exotic, because that exotic isn't that fucking great anyway. And it recently, leaked due to a bug where Xbox One and PC users were able to access that exotic during a 2-week time frame where they didn't notice the bug was there and people were getting that item to drop. So, you can access it on Xbox and PC now. All you have to do is go to your collection. If you played during that time frame, even if you didn't get it, if you played during that time frame, it's part of your collection. You can, you can get it to drop again. So you've unlocked drops for it now. So I don't understand why they don't want, why they're so stingy with their fucking platform. And I know I've been defending the exclusivity thing with Epic and PC over the last couple podcasts, and I feel like that's a different thing though. That's just one platform, and you're not really locking anyone away from using that platform. If I wanted to, play on my PC Borderlands 3, even if it's not on Steam, I can still play it on PC. So I'm still playing it on my hardware. I'm still playing it on my preferred system. So no loss there. I'm just giving my money to a different company. PlayStation's forcing me to use a piece of hardware I may not want to use. PlayStation's, forcing people to do things that they want to do. I don't understand why they don't know that crossplay is the future. That you stand to make more money than you would lose by having fucking crossplay. Because you would have more people who would just use their character from Destiny 2 on PS4. If I could just log in on either system and have access to my stuff no matter where I log in, just like with Fortnite, no matter where I log in, I get access to my character. If I log in on my Switch, if I log in on my PS4, if I log in on my PC, I'm playing as the same character. It doesn't matter. So I don't understand why they think that's a bad thing. Now, I'm not going to exclusively play on one thing. I play constantly on PS4, especially stuff like free-to-play games. So that just means that you'll be getting part of that microtransaction pie from those free-to-play games from customers who you would have locked out of your system if you didn't include that functionality. And I can't but wonder how many other games they fucking do this with. It's the reason I didn't get into fucking Warframe on PS4. I played Warframe a lot on PC, and I wanted to play it on PS4. I had friends who didn't have a PC who wanted to get into Warframe, and I downloaded Warframe on my PS4. I went to play it, and what happened? I had to start completely over. My character didn't transfer. Now, I don't know if that's a Sony thing, or if that was on the side of the developers there, but I don't see why the developers wouldn't allow it. Sony seems to be the one who's always blocking that. So I don't understand why they do this. It blows my mind why Sony seems to be just killing it in some areas and then just clinging to life to these anti-consumer practices of theirs, like fighting crossplay and, just demanding exclusivity rights to, even items in games and stuff. Like having an exclusive game is one thing, but, that just fuels that just fuels and justifies their argument for not having crossplay when their version of the game is different than other versions. If their version of Destiny 2 has extra content, then of course it can't crossplay with other ones because it's a different version of the game. So they have to protect it. And see, this is where it becomes toxic, and this is where it hurts the community as a whole. It hurts the consumer. It takes away your freedom to play the way you want to play. Now, while we're on the topic of playing the way we want to play, here's where we get to the part where I got a little triggered here. So Hold on, I have an article here pulled up that I'm going to read. Not the whole thing. I'm just going to take some quotes for it. So Sony has strengthened its guidelines for its games, too, specifically concerning adult content. Now, they give you some PR speak as to why. And look, I'm not advocating that Sony should be Steam and just allow straight up porn games. But I'm an adult. And mostly adults play video games. You know, there's a large adult market of gamers over the age of 18. I'd say there's just as many, if not more, gamers over the age of 18 playing adult gamers than there are, you know, minors. Yeah, kids play video games, teenagers play video games, but this stereotype has bothered me forever. That I don't understand how in 2019 we still, you know, bring up video games or bring up stuff like that when you see a late night talk show host talking about video games, even when they're promoting a video game. Now I get it. Conan does it for comedic value when he does his Clueless Gamer thing. You know, that's the shtick there. But there's still a lot of late night talk show hosts who just cling to these outdated fucking stereotypical jokes that, you know, that the video game player, if he's above a certain age, is a fat neck beard sitting in a basement, overweight, and he's a virgin and he's not getting laid. And they stick to those stereotypes when that's not who plays video games. That is a vast majority. The average gamer is just your average person, dude or chick at this point. Like, that stereotype's also done, that the girls don't like games stereotype. That's fucking done. I mean, we're way past that. So why do we have, you know, platforms like that, you know, just these late night talk shows, you know, pop culture still referencing this, still clinging to this, and then Sony solidifies it by making decisions like this, where they try to make it more kiddie, where they try to enforce that it's not for adults. I want my games to be taken as seriously as a medium as movies. I'm the type of gamer who enjoys a story-focused gaming experience. The Last of Us kind of experience, where it has a set beginning, middle, and an end, and it tells a story, and I can get emotionally involved and connected with that story and those characters in a way I can't with any movie. With a movie, I'm an observer, but with a game, I'm actively part of it. And I love that. And we're talking about just minor sexual content in games here. I mean, I loved the God of War games. Yeah, they had some sex scenes in them, but they weren't porn games. And they were nothing you couldn't see in an R-rated movie. So I want my games to be taken as seriously as an R-rated movie. We have a rating system for a fucking reason. Why aren't we enforcing that? So anyway, they give you some PR speak as to why. They didn't say exactly what their guidelines were, but there were some developers who weren't happy about how strict they've become lately with their content. They're basically going backwards. We're back in the 90s again if you're publishing a game on PS4, because Sony's using those 90s rules again. And these developers remained anonymous because of non-disclosure agreements, but they basically told this journalism that they're basically having to alter their games to release them on PS4 now because Sony's cracking down on sexual content in video games and adult-themed content like violence and gore. Mainly sexual content. Now, the PR speak that they use is so that creators can offer well-balanced content on the platform that does not inhibit the sound, growth, and development of children. Now, they don't tell you what those guidelines entail, and that's PR speak for, they're hiding behind the please think of the children excuse. These kids shouldn't be playing these games anyway. The games, again, we have a rating system. That's what that was for. We already went through this in the 90s when, Mortal Kombat scared the shit out of parents, and then we came up with a rating system, so parents should know what's in these games. Now, I have a few people to blame for this, but Sony blames someone else. Now, I was going to blame politicians because we're at the point where, they're not going to be taken seriously until there's laws to protect video games, just like there's laws to protect movies. Now, I prefer to have the government keep its hands off my medium, But obviously this industry has gotten so out of fucking control, and not just with content in its games, but the way these developers act, the way these publishers act, where they're just throwing loot boxes and gambling at children. That's fine. That's fucking fine. You're making billions off fucking loot boxes by throwing those at children, but Lord forbid they see a goddamn titty. All right? So, and I know it's a part of me was going to blame politicians because they're, generally speaking, Congress and the Senate here in the U.S. is just a bunch of fucking old dudes who never touched a video game a day in their life, or they haven't in so long that they still think Pac-Man is what video games are like, or Mario is what they still see them as kids' toys. So they don't take them seriously. So the only way any of this would change would be if they put in, laws to protect the gamer in the industry, and they started taking it seriously, which they're not. So they're part of the problem. Another part of the problem that I was going to blame was going to be parents, because we gave you what you wanted in the 90s. We gave you a way to protect your children from these things. We gave you a rating system. We policed ourselves. We successfully found a way to keep the government out of the games and still protect you. We found a compromise that I can tell you from experience working at GameStop, no fucking parent uses. Almost no parent uses. That these parents come into GameStop and they just buy whatever fucking game their kid wants. And they don't bother to look at the back. They don't look at the sexual content. I can't count the number of times that a parent bought Grand Theft Auto for a fucking 9-year-old and then came back a day or two later complaining about what they saw in the game their kid was playing and how they didn't know. And then I got to flip the game over and point at that little sticker on the back and go, it says it right there. M for mature, drugs, violence, alcohol use, sexual content. It literally lists everything that's in this game. And then they get that dumbfounded look on their face and they want their money back. And I've had ones that I even tell that to up front. GameStop started making us tell people up front, if you see a parent buying this game and there's someone with them that looks like they may be under the age of 18, tell them. Read the back of the game out loud in front of them and basically shame them in front of other customers for buying it for their child and say, ma'am, you are aware that this game contains, and then you read it to them and say, do you still want to purchase this game? Even though you're clearly buying it for the child. And then they'd get upset at that. And they'd want to buy it anyway. Basically, like, how dare you tell me how to parent my kid? And those same parents would then come back a day or two later complaining. So they didn't use the rating system. So unless it's a law that they can get in trouble for, they're not going to listen to it. It's the same thing with movies. Until they made it a law that, movies have to put their appropriate ratings and movie theaters can't let minors into movies and, all that without being accompanied by an adult. Until they made laws for that, there was no accountability and the parents, weren't held accountable. But Sony blames something else. Now, where's the quote? So there's a specific quote. So one particular factor as to why Japanese games seem to be targeted, because it seems to be targeting Japanese games more than other games, specifically your games with anime in them or from a Japanese developer, is Sony is worried that the reputation could take a hit from the explicit content. Two major factors for the change. And this affects all games, not just Japanese games, so those Japanese games seem to be taking the most of the brunt. But two major factors were identified. One, the rise of the hashtag Me2 movement and the rise of streaming. Game streamers, where more viewers get exposed to Japanese more lax standards towards fictional sexuality. So it's a cultural difference. They acknowledge the cultural difference. But they basically what they basically said there, if I can translate the PR speak, is they didn't care about the cultural differences and they were proud of their culture until the Me2 movement started threatening them. So this is where I'm going to rant about that fucking Me2 movement. It's now gotten its hands on my video games, and that's not what the Me2 movement's about. Isn't the Me2 movement supposed to be about real life shit? No, I don't think any girl should be sexually assaulted in real life. Yes, by all means, expose corrupt guys who are using sex as a way to promote girls and, abuse in the workplace. Yes, all that. I am all for all of that. But this this part of the Me Too movement that seems to be taking it too far, where it almost seems like these Me Too movers. I don't know what you call someone who's just an avid supporter of the Me Too movement, but just they seem to be on somewhat of a power trip. And now it's how much stuff can we control? It's the Me Too movement doesn't seem to be about, protecting girls from actual wrongdoing anymore, like sexual assault. But it seems to be about just flat out punishing men who even have this idea that women might be attractive, that women might be sexual creatures. That's what it feels like. Because you see it all the time. You see it on Twitter. Some guy makes a joke. Some comedian makes a joke. He didn't touch anybody. He didn't Louis C.K. jerk off into a plant. He didn't do any of that. He just got on stage and make a joke that a woman didn't agree with. So they attack him on Twitter. And he loses his fucking job or his fucking opportunity because of it. Like, I'm talking about just... It could be tweets from 10 fucking years ago. It almost feels like they're just looking for ammunition at this point. And now they have a way to attack video games. And like I said, I stayed off this topic for a long time. It annoyed me to see stuff like Kevin Hart not being able to host because of his 10-year-old tweets. Or, the James Gunn thing, losing, his fucking job as director of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. He's back now. Thankfully, that pushback worked. But because it is ridiculous for you to lose your job over tweets from 10 years ago. The world was a different place 10 years ago. Me Too movement hadn't started yet. The world was just a different place. People talked differently. Doesn't mean everything's offensive. It just, this hypersensitivity that seems to come with that movement is what is fucking bothering me. I am all for the movement. I am all for the protection of women. It's anyone's who's watched my stream and done more than listen to my podcast, which, by the way, if you haven't, you absolutely should. I stream every night. But if you've watched it, I typically have my wife on stream with me on a regular basis. And she is a strong woman. I'm attracted to strong women. I want a strong, independent woman who I know doesn't need me, but wants me. I don't want to, it's nice to feel needed, but that's my kids make me feel needed. I need my wife to be able to handle her shit. And she does. I need to know that if something happens to me, she's got this. And she does. She doesn't need me, but she wants me. And feeling wanted, I feel, is a lot better than feeling needed. And then maybe that's just me, but I get that. I'm all for protecting that. And I'm all for, women getting acknowledged for their strength and, something other than their boobs, something other than their physical appearance and not being subjected to all that stuff. I'm all for that. But how? How does seeing a fictional pair of polygonal tits in a video game affect you women? How? Just fucking explain this to me, please. Somebody's going to have to explain this to me. And don't even come at me with the subjectifying women argument that you use on strip clubs. Because strippers have done a pretty good job of defending that and telling you that their body, their choice. And then don't come at me with it's not a real body. It's a fictional body, and these games are made by men. No, that's not always the case. In fact, most of the time, these development teams have women on them, especially the Japanese ones. They've got women on them. The American ones in general. Very diverse group of people. There are plenty of women who are the ones who end up making these characters so that they're right. So that they're not some male's exaggerated imagination of what he thinks a woman should be, but they're an actual representation of the woman by letting a woman model the character model in the game. Letting a woman create that character. They're voiced by actual women who enjoy the character in the game. They relate to him. They have no protest. It seems like the only people who have a problem with it are you. No one's playing a fucking video game like fucking Bayonetta with about a witch whose hair is literally her clothing, and when she performs special moves, her hair comes off and you might get a glimpse of a side boob. No one's looking at her and thinking that's real. No one's thinking they're going to find a girl like that in real life. No one's trying to, why can't women be sexual creatures and be proud of that? Why? Other than when it's convenient for you. Other than when it's convenient for you. When you make, the cover of magazines. When you get a promotion for your looks, and then you can use it as a position of power to push a platform. Oh, you're happy to look the other way, then turn the other cheek. See, women like their appearance and like the fact that they're sexual creatures when they can use that to flirt their way out of a speeding ticket, when it benefits them. And that's what bothers me, is that you're attacking something that doesn't fucking affect you at this point. And I don't need boobs in my video games. It's not about that. It's about the effect it's going to have on this fucking industry as a whole. That all the progress we've made, we've been pushing towards since the fucking 90s, to have our art, our medium, taken seriously and not seen as something for children, just went backwards. All of it just went backwards. We can't seem to take a step forward without taking 2 steps back. And that's another thing that I don't get, is that these women should understand that. That seems very reminiscent of their struggle. How every time they seem to make a step forward with their rights and their equal treatment, something happens that gives them a step back, and then they have to start a movement to make another step forward. That's what it's like for us who want to see gaming become more than just this sea of the same shit over and over again, targeted at children, and then filled with stuff to exploit children. How are the boobs the thing in the games you're getting mad about? Me2 movers? Why aren't you thinking of the children? Why aren't you looking at the predatory loot box practices where they're throwing gambling mechanics at children, where there's no checks and balances in place to keep that stuff out of the hands of a child who can grab mommy's credit card while playing Fortnite and just buy up a ton of fucking Z-Bucks? Fortnite's not as predatory, but fine, we'll go to Apex Legends, where that 13-year-old could grab mommy's credit cards and just start stocking up on loot boxes. That seems way more dangerous to me, to a child, than seeing a pair of tits. I mean, that's going to warp their image of money. That's going to hinder their ability to be financially responsible as an adult, which could then ruin their entire life, because now they don't know how to handle their money. And yeah, you can argue that should fall to the parents to teach that fiscal responsibility to their children, to keep their credit cards out of their hands and to parent their kids. I could then use that same argument on you and say, yes, that also falls to the children to read the ratings on the back of the goddamn games and keep the ones with sexual content out of the hands of children. And if this is related to streamers and the way girls are treated in games, do you know how you don't fix that? By separating yourself from the male crowd. By segregating yourself. You're doing more harm than good here, because all you're going to do is piss off all the guys and create an us versus them situation, where now the guys are really going to attack girls because they're going to see girls as the thing that ruined their game, even if that girl didn't. Look, I get it. Some guys are going to be dickheads online. That's not an exclusively gaming thing. Boobs in video games didn't start that. Sexualized characters in video games didn't start that. My wife plays games. I've logged in on her account. And I've played and seen the messages she gets. I've watched her stream. She's taken over my stream and streamed video games, and I've seen the comments that pop up in those chats. But guess where else I see those comments? Fucking everywhere. It's the internet. It's not women. It's not the fact that you're being sexual creatures. It's the anonymity. That happens everywhere. That happens on Facebook. That happens on dating apps in particular. Snapchat's a horrible place. Don't go to Instagram. You want to talk about the sexuality of women getting exploited and then turning guys into trolls. Instagram's your fucking playground, women. But so many women support Instagram because Instagram models are becoming a thing and they're becoming famous and girls are getting championed on Instagram. But why are they getting championed? Because they're sexualizing themselves, because they're taking 100 fucking pictures of their ass and they're taking, you know, oh, I just want to take a picture of the beach, but I have to hold the camera in a way that you see mostly my cleavage. Whoopsie. Coincidence, boobs. Yeah, because, you know, there's just video after video of girls twerking on Instagram, live stream after live stream of girls twerking and doing all this stuff they can't do while streaming video games without getting banned on Twitch. So video games seem like a safer place for women, really, than social media. Why are we attacking social media? Oh, because you girls like that. Because the Me2 movers like social media. It's what's helping their movement. So you're willing to turn the other cheek at all the bad shit on those platforms and not try to hold them accountable and not try to change what they're doing, but you're going to hold gaming to the fucking, you're going to rate gaming over the fucking coals. I know there's no lawsuits and there's no, you know, nothing official happening here. But you made enough of a stink to scare somebody. And that seems to be your topic. You're trying to, your movement has become mostly fear. To do what we say, or we have the power to end your career. We have the power to ruin your company. We have the power to put you in headlines that could destroy you. We can cause a PR nightmare for you. Or you could change Tracer's butt pose. Even though it's the same butt pose even the guys use. You could change Tracer's in particular because her ass is better than mine and I got jealous. You can change Tracer's butt pose and maybe we look the other way. Maybe we don't make a stink about this. Is it that power trip? Is that what it is? Is it the, oh my God, they actually did what I wanted? Is it that? Is it that revelation that you got them to do what you said and now you're just seeing how far you can push it? Because when it was affecting the jobs of the people who actually committed the sexual crimes, I had your back 100%. Your Harvey Weinsteins. You know, your Louis C.K.'s whipping his dick out, you know. All these guys touching, grabbing girls, you know, acting like madmen in the workplace. Rake those guys over the coal. Fire them and fucking bury their careers beneath the building. You got my support on that one. But fictional characters in games? Really? That's what we're after now? You'll scream cultural appropriation if my daughter dresses like Moana for Halloween? But then you're trying to tell an entire Japanese game studio to alter their culture so you don't get offended? The Japanese, their culture's different. They view sex differently than you. Who the fuck are you to tell them they can't? Who the fuck are you to tell them they're wrong? It's their culture. How dare you appropriate it and try to conform it to yours? See this double fucking standard you assholes cause? And this is why it does nothing but hurt your movement and make it seem more like a power trip than a movement at this point. Anyway, I love my PlayStation. I love my video games. And I don't love the porn games. Steam's part of the problem here too. I can't not point the finger at them. Because them allowing the flood of porn games has done nothing but shined a light on how weird some of this shit can get and got the attention of these Me Too movers. That's what happened. Steam, get your fucking shit together. I don't want porn games recommended to me every day, but I also don't want my games neutered. Why can't I have a middle ground like I get with my movies? Why can't I just have a game that has the same freedom a movie has, where the artist creating the movie has the freedom to tell the story they want to tell the way they want to tell it? And if that includes a sex scene or a sexual, act, or even a woman being sectionalized because it's part of her character, that's part of the character that they want to portray, that helps move the plot and tell the story. Why can't I have that? Why can't I have that? Because if you girls have your way, you Me Too guys have your way, there'll be no more Bayonettas. You put Bayonetta in a fucking pantsuit. The game would still be fun. The gameplay is still the same, but the character wouldn't feel the same. You know? I mean, should we throw more clothes on the Hulk? He's running around with his shirt off. Wouldn't really feel like the Hulk, though, would it? That would alter his character. I don't see you complaining about him. Maybe throw more clothes on Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He seems to lose his shirt a lot in a lot of his movies. But you girls seem to like that. Yeah, it seems different when it's men. If we sexualize men and throw some magic, you throw another Magic Mike sequel at you, you'll applaud that shit. But let us make, a reboot of the striptease movie from the 90s with Demi Moore. You girls will lose your shit. It's the double standard that bothers me. And I kept my opinion to myself, even though a lot of this shit irked me for as long as I have, because it had nothing to do with gaming. And now it does. Now you're telling me I got to go back to the 90s where, I'm going to have to look to mods to get this stuff in my games. To just get a suggestive outfit that matches the character. Go back to Bayonetta. Now I'm going to have to get a mod to put Bayonetta just back in her original costume so she feels like Bayonetta again. Because that's the kind of character she plays. That's the kind of character she is. A character who uses her sexuality as a weapon. How is that not empowering? How is that wrong? I don't get it. And I don't need to. I just need you to keep your fucking Me Too movement out of my goddamn video games. That's all I need. You go fight the good fight. And you keep women from getting sexually assaulted, and you get them the rights they deserved and the equal treatment, the equal pay. You go do all that shit. Because that's where your movement is about. That's what it should be. And you've got my support 110%. But fictional characters in video games don't have rights. They don't need a movement. And if you need someone to attack for how it affects the children, if you're going to take that angle, there is an ass load of millennial parents who aren't doing their goddamn jobs. Maybe shine a little light on that. Let's shine the gaslight where it needs to be shined. Okay, let's point the finger at the real problem. But I forget a lot of you Me Too girls are millennials and are parents who are spending too much time on social media chasing after this stuff than you are watching your own kids. I'm a parent too. My girls love video games. 5 years old. They play the hell out of Mario. Play Smash Brothers with me. They love the Switch. I even threw them in VR a couple times to, play stuff like Moss and Rescue Bot. Fun, kid-friendly games. Because I'm a parent who understands how a rating system works and what's appropriate for my child. I screen the things they watch on YouTube. I do my due diligence as a parent. But I've also seen other parents who do that, who just turn on the YouTube app and use it as a babysitter for their kid. Who hand them a game console and don't take the 10 fucking minutes it takes to go through the parental controls and set those up before handing them the goddamn console. These are all built into the hardware for these fucking things. You can turn on parental controls on PlayStation, Xbox, fucking Switch, on your phone, on tablets. Parental controls are a thing that you can turn on. You can even get routers and modems that control the internet it fucking self. So you can turn on parental controls that says, hey, after 9 o'clock at night, restrict access to the internet from all video game systems in the house so that, my kid can't even get on the internet with this console now. So he can't play Fortnite. He can't play Apex Legends. And if you take the 10 minutes to set that up before handing him the goddamn thing, you don't have to be this fucking parent breathing down his neck. The parental controls literally do the work for you. You can still use it as a babysitter. This is all just an excuse to not do your fucking jobs as parents. Go after the problem where the problem is. Stop trying to change the media for everyone and do your fucking job. Because if you attack the business itself, you take it away from the people who don't have children, who aren't affected by the thing that you got offended by. You want to change an industry so that it treats women fair? I'm all for that. But any other change is a change you're simply doing because you can and because it suits your personal needs. Because it either puts you on a power trip or it suits your idea of what should be instead of what's fair. This whole movement's supposed to be about what's fair. Yes, the rights you have and the equal treatment are fair. But anything beyond that is you throwing your opinion down the throats of others. All right, I'm done with this rant. I know it's not quite an hour, and thank you for sitting with me through this podcast. It was mostly just about me getting mad at social justice warriors affecting the thing I love. I've watched them affect just tons of other stuff, from TV shows to comedians to everything else with this PC culture thing. I know I kind of singled out the Me2 movement a little bit, but that's because Sony directly referenced it as this is why we're scared to allow this stuff on our platform anymore. Now, we don't know for sure what kind of effect this is going to have on the gaming industry. I know Steam's partially to blame, and maybe this will clean up Steam. Maybe some good will come from this. But I do worry about the effect it's going to have on consoles, and I'm scared we're about to take a step back to the 90s, where video games are going to become the fucking punching bag for everything. We already became the punching bag. We're already the go-to punching bag when the NRA needs something to blame for a shooting other than the guns that shot the bullets. So what's next? Anyway.